Soccer Talk. Here's your host, Jason Davis.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Soccer Morning here on WorldSoccerTalk.com. I hope you had a lovely Memorial Day weekend. I hope you barbecued. I hope you swam in the ocean and or pool. I hope you enjoyed some nice weather. Speaking of weather, just a quick shout out to all of our fans in Houston. I know we've got some people listening down there in Southeast Texas. Stay safe, please. Looks really, really bad in Houston. And one of those situations makes you remember that soccer's not that important, really, in the grand scheme of things. I mean, we love it. We talk about it every single day. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not quite the biggest deal. The Austin Aztec Stadium, where they play their home match, is completely underwater. Houston underwater. So anyway, stay safe, Houston and Austin and Southeast Texas and everybody down there getting hit by all of those torrential rains. Please, and the floods. Stay safe. All right. So today is a big day here at Soccer Morning on WorldSoccerTalk.com. We're going to have our friend David Cartledge in just a couple of minutes to talk about La Liga. We'll wrap up the season. We'll look at Carlo Ancelotti leaving Real Madrid. Is Rafa Benitez going to step in? We've got Sami Khedira leaving Madrid as well. Maybe that's not huge news for you, but Sami Khedira, a very good player. Just surplus to requirements. Dani Alves at Barcelona, obviously. Xavi, that situation and his move to... Look, I've been saying Qatar because I read somewhere that that's what American people should say because that's as close as we can get. And then somebody called me out on Twitter and said, no, it's Qatar. So whatever. Ibar, some other situations, some other stories out of Spain, definitely top of mind this morning. We'll do all of that with David. Should be a good discussion. A couple of headlines here before we do that. In MLS, Chris Wondolowski, in a 1-1 draw with Orlando City, scored a penalty for his 100th MLS goal. Now, I spilled a few words on Chris Wondolowski for my regular ESPN FC MLS wrap-up column that hit late last night, early this morning. And in it, I said it's almost impossible to convey exactly how insane Chris Wondolowski's story is. And I'm not saying that he's the greatest MLS player of all time. I'm not saying he's someone we should build statues to. I'm just saying, if you look at the man's trajectory, and look at where he came from, he's 32 years old. Okay, he just turned 32 in January. So he's 32 years old. He has 100 MLS goals. And he really didn't start scoring goals until 2010. He scored, 2009. So he scored 14 goals in 2009 in the league. Before that I'm sorry, that's not right. 18 goals in 2010. That's what I meant to say. I got my columns confused. I was 2010. Really broke out in 2010. Before 2010, he had 7 goals. 7. So between 2010 and 2015, the man has scored 93 MLS goals. That's insane. Absolutely insane. And he is pretty amazing. Whether he can translate it to the international stage, of course, we know that maybe is a little more difficult. But in terms of MLS, the guy is absolutely outstanding. You may have seen this over the weekend. Didier Drogba leaving Chelsea. Chelsea having their parade. I've got a sound clip, by the way, from the parade. I didn't prep Trevor with this at all. This is something I came across. This is from the Chelsea celebration parade. Jose Mourinho on the mic. Love that. Go Jose. Didier Drogba leaving Chelsea may or may not be coming to MLS. I never really believe until the guy's holding up a jersey or a scarf or being introduced at a press conference or somebody reputable who I respect in terms of reporting says it's definitely happening. But the rumors are he has an offer from or he's interested in joining MLS. In terms of his contract offers, this is where I'm a little confused because I've seen that Didier Drogba may have a contract offer from NYCFC, but I've also seen that Andrea Pirlo may have a contract offer from NYCFC. And if I'm doing my math right, that's David Villa, Frank Lampard. There's only room for one more. So I don't know exactly which one they're going after, Drogba or Pirlo. Maybe Maybe I can put that to you NYCFC fans out there. Who would you rather have, Drogba or Pirlo? Who helps you more? Norwich promoted back to the Premier League after just 1 year away. They beat Middlesbrough in the playoff final. Big day for Norwich. Good to see them back in the Premier League. I have a soft spot for Norwich. We'll see if they can stay up in 2015, 2016. The story of the next two World Cups continue to be in the minds of people watching the development of the game, and certainly as FIFA gets ready to elect probably not a new president, but elect a president in about 3 days' time. The story of the next two World Cups and the preparations for them will remain in the news. We obviously have talked a lot about Qatar and the foreign labor, the indentured servitude used to create the stadiums in the cities out of scratch for that tournament. Russia, meanwhile, is looking to cut back on costs. Things have gotten a little out of control. The Russian, the ruble's not doing too well. So this is what they're going to do. They're going to get prison labor to help cut down costs. The Russian prison service is backing a bid by Alexander Kishinets something, a lawmaker from the ruling United Russia Party, to allow prisoners to be taken from their camps to work at factories where they focus on driving down the cost of building materials for World Cup projects. Now, they're not going to be directly building stuff. They'll be helping make the stuff that goes into the stadiums and everything else. Whatever works, I guess. Prison labor, yeah, sure. Just doesn't seem like either of these countries, Russia or Qatar, really have their ducks in a row and know exactly how to get where they want to go when it comes to building. All right, let's take a look quickly at MLS scores. I mentioned Chris Wondolowski scoring a goal in a draw for San Jose with Orlando City. You had L.A. Late Alan Gordon winner to beat Houston on Friday night. I took part in a Rabble broadcast for Columbus and Chicago. That was a fun game with Jason Johnson scoring the equalizer for Chicago in added time. Really has to hurt for the Columbus crew that they let 2 points slip away there. Toronto beats Portland 1-0. Sebastian Giovinco. That's amazing. Great strike from him. New England and D.C. draw 1-1, so that clash at the top of the Eastern Conference splits the points. Montreal beats Dallas. That's 2 in a row for Montreal, beating a very good team in FC Dallas. Colorado beats Vancouver 1-0. I think that was their first home win since July of last year. Seattle and Sporting Kansas City go goalless. A little bit of surprise there. Seattle, obviously prolific, and Sporting Kansas City coming off of a 4-goal performance in midweek, but they couldn't put one in the net. RSL beats New York City FC 2-0 on Jason Kreis's return. Philadelphia with a shocker, beating the Red Bulls 2-0 at Red Bull Arena. I'm not sure anybody saw that coming. Vincent Nogueira, very good. Fabinho, very good. Big day for Philadelphia and Jim Curtin. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we will grab our friend David Cartledge and we will talk España. He will be here to talk Barca, Real Madrid, and everything else happening in La Liga. Don't go anywhere. Soccer Morning, WorldSoccerTalk.com.
Face in the crowd, you're talking too loud, but I can't hear you calling.
If you missed it, I had a great time talking to Soccer Morning listeners on Rabble.tv for the Friday night MLS game. We enjoyed it so much that we're doing it again this Friday. To listen to our conversation about the game and whatever else is on our minds, all you have to do is head over to Rabble.tv and click play to hear the live audio that kicks off 10 minutes before the Friday night MLS game starts. If you have an iPhone, install the Rabble TV app today and add a comment to the broadcast message board, then listen live via the app on Friday. Rabble.tv is a new kind of television experience. It's a place for soccer fans to interact with us and with each other. Rabble gives you the opportunity to post comments and questions that we'll do our best to answer during the live broadcast. Think of it as a game thread with live audio. So mark your calendars for this Friday's MLS game and head on over to Rabble.tv to listen to me. If you're like me and you're wondering where to watch all of the Copa America games this June and July, I've got the answer for you. It's called Fubo TV. Fubo TV is a legal and affordable streaming service that delivers live and on-demand HD broadcasts of BN Sports, Goal TV, Benfica TV, and more. That means you can watch Copa America, Barca TV, Real Madrid TV, Serie A, and other great leagues from around the world. With Fubo TV, the broadcast stream to your computer, smartphone, tablet, Roku, or Amazon Fire TV. Plus, Fubo TV works with Chromecast, so you can cast the games to your TV set. Soccer Morning listeners, I want to invite you to sign up today for a free trial to Fubo TV. And if you love what you see, a monthly subscription to Fubo TV is only $6.99 per month. So sign up at fubo.tv/soccermorning right now, fubo.tv/soccermorning, and start enjoying the best soccer from around the world at home and at work.
Welcome back to Soccer Morning on World Soccer Talk with Jason Davis.
Here we're back on Soccer Morning and joined now by good friend of the show, David Cartledge. Covers Spanish football from Spain. Works at BN Sport and at 442, and follow him on Twitter at David, Jaca. David, how are you this morning?
I'm very well, thank you. I hope everybody else listening in.
I'm sure it's afternoon in Spain. I'm sure the weather is beautiful. Let's go through some of the major happenings in the world of Spanish football. Look, we haven't gotten a chance to talk since Barcelona wrapped up the league, but just a few words from you here on sort of the trajectory, the storyline of Barcelona throughout this particular season, because it feels as though it was only a couple of months ago that people were really questioning whether this team could get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was a fateful night at Anoeta in January. It was January 3rd, January 2nd, I think that was. And that was the 1-0 loss to Real Sociedad, to David Moyes' Real Sociedad. And I think after that, there was like a strong call to Luis Enrique to go. There had been rumblings for quite a while of discontent. So you go back to January and they look far from a team who could win the league, let alone come away with a treble. So it's been quite the turnaround.
It's interesting because back then, as you said, calls for Luis Enrique to go, and now here we are at the end of the season. Barcelona are champion. They have a treble in sight, and instead of Luis Enrique going, it's Carlo Ancelotti going at Real Madrid. The circumstances around his exit, I'm not sure anybody's surprised by this, David, but the circumstances around his exit, is this mutual, or is it just Ancelotti flat out being sacked?
Yeah, it's Ancelotti being sacked without a doubt, but we look at the manner in which it's happened and the work he's done there, and it's pretty unfortunate, I think, and fine, there won't be people surprised because Real Madrid have done this before, and not even just under Florentino Perez. They've done it under Calderon, they've done it under other presidents as well. And it's the nature of the club. That's what happens. The results don't come in. And in this case, I think the league, particularly for Carlo Ancelotti, has gone against him. It's been poor performance in the league from him as they have judged it. The Champions League win last season doesn't really come into things, and neither does a run this season. And they've decided to move on and look elsewhere. And it looks like they're going to go towards Rafael Benitez.
This is a little surprising for me. I'll admit that. How do I frame this up correctly? It's not that Rafa Benitez is a bad manager. It's not that I don't think he can succeed. It's that he's not quite on the level that I would expect Real Madrid to turn to after Ancelotti, or in general, for that matter.
No, absolutely, and that is the problem, because the feeling was if there's nobody else better on the market, then the sensible thing would be to persevere with Carlo Ancelotti and give him another year and hope that these don't forget the terrible injuries that Real Madrid had. Mm-hmm. Integrating this new squad together again, and then had all the injuries of key players like Modric, and things like that happen. And I thought they would have maybe given him another year, and that's not the case. Benitez, again, he's a good coach. He's by no means a bad coach, but I completely concur with what you're saying about his level isn't perhaps what you'd expect. And I think it's a strange. I think it's an underwhelming appointment after somebody like Ancelotti's gone, who's so well liked by the fans, by the players. And I think there was many people in terms of staff internally he's really liked, but the men who matter didn't want Ancelotti around anymore, and then that's pretty much the line under it.
Well, it's interesting because I think it kind of shines a light on the fact that they're for some of these, for the biggest clubs in the world, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, I suppose you could throw Manchester United into this mix, especially considering their struggles with David Moyes last season. There's only a handful of managers who reach. It is not just about how good they are as managers or as coaches, David. It's about their personalities. It's about handling that spotlight. And it's about being able to reflect the size of the club in their personality. And so they painted themselves into a corner. And I don't know what that list looks like, but it's Pep Guardiola. It's, who else is on? Jose Mourinho, obviously. But that's it. Who else is on this list? And when you burn through a guy like Jose and you're not going to bring Pep Guardiola in, where do you turn? And you turn to Rafa Benitez.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of people said Jurgen Klopp.
Sure,
because
yes.
he's leaving Dortmund,
Yes.
but I think the language barriers would perhaps come into play with Jurgen Klopp. Again, another exciting coach, but I think Real Madrid also are clubs, prospective clubs in terms of the big clubs, maybe need to see if he can excel away from Borussia Dortmund, if he can go somewhere this year at another club, maybe a club maybe in a similar level to Dortmund, but in a different country, and see if he can excel, work outside his limits, and then they'll maybe judge it. But I expect Benitez to be given only a year contract, and then that'll be it. If he's given anything longer than that, I'll be stunned.
Yeah, I mentioned Barcelona in that group, but obviously they took a chance on Luis Enrique, and it's worked out. And before that, Tata Martinez. So maybe it's a little different at Barcelona than it has been at some of these other big clubs. But would you? I mean, you have no vested interest in Real Madrid here, and I imagine that they have. They feel a certain burden, or at least the president feels a certain burden to reach out and grab a name people know. But would you rather Real Madrid go in the direction of maybe plucking a younger coach or somebody who has only whose experience is at maybe at a lower level or a smaller club and give them an opportunity?
Yeah, I mean it is. It is the ideal scenario. It is nice. You like to see a young coach get his chance, and we're talking about somebody like Klopp, for instance, who's very exciting, and he could maybe learn the job a little bit. But Real Madrid really haven't got time for that. I think they could think that Rafa Benitez can come in. The squad is pretty much, I would say, going to remain 90% the same. There's going to be the odd movement. I don't think there's going to be any major changes. I think the major changes will be in terms of system, in terms of mentality, the way the team approaches games. I don't think we're going to see the explosive football as much as we saw under Ancelotti, which Ancelotti I thought delivered superbly. And I don't think we're going to see that anymore. I think it's going to be a bit more back to the Real Madrid of old. It's going to be you 1-0 and 2-0 wins, I think, and relying on that power and that the tactical prowess of Benitez. Really, he's a very tactical, meticulous manager in the way he sets up his teams, the set pieces and things and such like that. So it'll be returned to that environment, I think.
A little bit less expressive Real Madrid in the future. Yeah, I can't wait for that to be a problem and for him to be under pressure at Real Madrid. All right, but before we move on, we got besides Barcelona in a Champions League final, Sevilla is in a Europa League final coming up. That's tomorrow, I believe you said. And so before I do that, before we turn away from Real Madrid, you mentioned very few exits from the club. I imagine Sami Khedira doesn't even rate at this point, which is amazing, but it isn't even rated as a major defection, and he will be leaving this summer?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like I think his head has been elsewhere all season, and I think he could have gone in January quite easily, and nobody would have really noticed him slipping out the back door, but it looks like he is going to, it's certain he will leave, and it's just a case of him picking a club. It looks at this point likely to be Juventus.
So let's talk about Sevilla as they look to win the Europa League title. They've had Dnipro in Warsaw. Dnipro is obviously an amazing story considering not being able to play at home in this tournament and reaching a final, the first one ever for the club. But Sevilla have to be heavy favorites.
Yeah, of course they have to be. I think they've been spectacular. They were okay in the group stage. I was a bit concerned for them in the group stage. They kind of plodded along, but it's since they have went into the knockout stage, they have faced some difficult teams, but they have passed through them. Just a team excellent from Germany, Fiorentina again, another good side. But then they've won 8 of their last 9 matches in the Europa League now, Sevilla, and they are looking extremely strong and extremely exciting. They've been just staying call up today, and there's a new goalkeeper from Sevilla in there who's been promoted this season, a young kid. Lots of similarities to David De Gea. They've got Alex Vidal and Vitolo. They picked them up for next to no money, and they've turned them into stars in their own right at Sevilla's level. And it's quite incredible what they've done there. And somebody like Ever Banega as well, who's such an enigmatic character. You're never quite sure what you're going to get. He's incredibly talented, but he never usually produces. But he's had a magnificent season, and he's really led the team well this year.
And so let's turn back to Barcelona, who again have a chance at a treble here. They've locked up the La Liga title again. They're in the Champions League final. They have Copa del Rey. Meanwhile, this story with Dani Alves, it seems that maybe he's speaking out publicly about how he feels about his treatment at the club. No one will deny that he is an incredibly important piece, and I don't know, give the man the money. I mean, what exactly is going on here?
Yeah, I think Dani Alves, the press conference yesterday it was classic Dani Alves. It was his character. He didn't really care about the authority around him, and he spoke out, he spoke his mind. And I think the key factor was he made the definition between the team and the club. He is 200% committed to the team. On the field, he will play as well as he has all season. He's been very good this season. I know he has his detractors, but I think that's also for merits off the field. They maybe don't like Dani Alves, the character, his extrovert dress sense, things like that, his Instagram posts, things like this that mean absolutely nothing if he performs on the field, and he always performs on the field. So he has been excellent. So the team, he's committed, but he made the point the club haven't taken care of him. They haven't respected him. This is the best right back in the history of Barcelona as a club, and they haven't really respected him in the manner they should. Especially with the transfer ban coming up, it leaves them in an odd predicament as well, especially with somebody like Martin Montoya, who looks likely to leave, and Douglas, who has been a bizarre signing, I'll say.
That transfer ban, it actually slipped my mind. Obviously, Barcelona had a stay gotten a stay through their appeal of the process, but it's been held up. What exactly does that mean for Barcelona?
Yeah, they just won't be able to sign. It's pretty much that they won't be able to sign this summer after their signing of minors over recent years, which were against the FIFA guidelines. Basically, it's left them in a position where they won't be able to sign this summer. So what they might look to do is look at players and because the press. I think the press forgetting there's a ban sometimes as well because they run away with so many stories like Paul Pogba will go to Barcelona and things like this. So they have to keep producing their stories and saying that Barcelona will sign these players. So maybe what they will do, Barcelona, is look to how well it players and say, look, you can have an extra year at this club, but could you maybe sign something with us? Could you maybe give us word that you'll come and join us once we're allowed to sign again? So it's pretty much like that.
Interesting. I got something to hear on Twitter, David. I might as well throw it in. It's our friend Vince in Toronto. He wants to know what you make of Deportivo La Coruña's season.
Yeah, it's been an interesting season for Depor, and it was right until the wire on the last day. Depor are a funny club. There's just not much structure there in terms of foresight for the long term, and it's annoying for fans because every year they're in this sort of situation. They're either going down to the Segunda or they're coming back up, and then they're fighting for their lives, and there's not much stability there. I think they're badly run. Their owners are very, very poor. I don't think Depor treat with much respect as a club by their owners, and I think it could be a much better situation for them. But yeah, they've survived, so they'll get a nice bit of money, and they'll be back in the league next year. So, but they've got to learn from past mistakes. They've got to start signing better players. They've got to start working the market better. But I think they've got a good young manager there, and I think they should persist with him.
David, I want to go back to some old news at this point, and that's the TV money distribution in Spain and the law that was passed and the response. First of all, I know it's a complicated situation with different groups involved, including the league, the government, the sporting ministry, the players. But I want to come to the players because they threatened to strike couple weeks back towards the end of the season, and were not allowed to go ahead with that strike. A court order from a judge kept them from doing so. So now all their leverage is gone. Is there any chance the players, and I believe this is about, again, distribution of the money between top level players and maybe second division players, what can they do now?
Yeah, it's a case of it's more. The thing is, every time that they are going to try and strike, there's going to be a hearing, and the High Court are going to always rule it out. I think they're always going to favor the men in power, basically, who are squabbling, the likes of Villa and Javier Tebas. So Villa is the head of the RFEF, who are the players, and then of course Tebas is the head of the Spanish Football League. And as long as they are still warring and they don't come to an agreement, this will occur again. And I guarantee I will be on the phone to you next season, and we'll be discussing exactly the same story, and there won't have been much movement in it.
Well, I guess for me, I mean, I just wonder from an American perspective. I guess I don't understand why the players are restricted from striking by a judge's order, and what would happen if they just chose not to play in defiance of that order.
Yeah, I mean, the initial rule, the actual reasoning from the court, the strike, they basically said it will be great organizational disorder. And I mean, Spain isn't the most organized place anyway, so I think a bit more organizational disorder wouldn't really be out of place.
Right.
But that is the official line, the great organizational disorder, and they just feel it would disrupt things far too much, basically.
But if the players, again, if the players decided to defy that order, are we talking about what, jail? Are we talking fines?
We're talking big fines, players, maybe contracts being ceased, and it could really go on and on. There is so many loopholes and so many ways that this could still go, and there hasn't been any movement, but it just doesn't surprise me because the strike got called off, and then it's swept under the rug for the next time, and it will occur again and again. And I don't think the players will ever go that far as to ignore it. It will always be, because I think that they'll be scared of what could happen to them.
Speaking of, obviously the money of the distribution of TV money in Spain is a big deal because Barcelona and Real Madrid control so much of it or take so much of it, and sharing the pie a little bit better should help some of these other clubs. And I'm going to use that as an entry point here to what I've seen about Elche potentially being relegated for administrative failures and for their debt. Now, you indicated to me before we came on the air that this might be a little bit overblown and it might be scare tactics, but certainly there's something to be said for the debt that Elche's had to take on to stay where they are.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the club owes, I think it's a total of 50 million euros together. So that's 9 million to the Spanish Inland Revenue, the taxman, and then the rest is to certain players in the squad. And again, this is on Monday. There's going to be a decision on this, and we'll see if they are relegated for non-payments, basically. And they would be relegated to the Segunda, and Eibar, who were relegated the weekend, would take that place as the next best placed club.
And Eibar was relegated despite having the same number of points as two clubs ahead of them and a better goal differential. So what is the tiebreaker in Spain? I'm confused.
The head-to-head.
That's right. It's head-to-head. I mean, I guess if that's just the way it is, then Eibar has to accept it and move on and go to the Segunda and try to get back. But is there any sense at all in Spain that that's a little unfair based on the entirety of the season rather than head-to-head against those two other teams?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a lot of, people have looked at the way teams go down like that, or another place in the league is sorted by that manner, but especially with relegation, and it's not really a fair way of doing things. It just doesn't really look right. I mean, you look at Pep's record towards the end of the season as well, and it was really cool, but it doesn't matter because of the head-to-head. Then that's how it went for Eibar. And then I think Elche as well. With Elche, it would be unfortunate because it should always be matters on the field. It's settled this, and they have been absolutely magnificent. Their players haven't been paid for 3 or 4 months, but they were still churning out results that other teams down there could not as well. They were fighting, and it was incredible to see from their players. So it was enormous respect to them.
Let's talk a little bit here before I have to let you go about Xavi Hernandez leaving Barcelona, headed to Qatar, whatever. And you know, I talked a little bit about this last week and wondered if MLS missed out on Xavi, but I'll put that to the side because I think what obviously is more important is just taking stock of Xavi the player, what he meant to Barcelona, his influence in some of the greatest teams we've ever seen, David, and I imagine that's a lot of what's pouring out, especially in Barcelona and Catalonia right now.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. He is Barcelona, and for many, he is football in Spain as well. I think people forget before this generation came around, the likes of Xavi and that generation, Iniesta, Xabi Alonso. You know, Spain had talented players, but they could never win anything. And then this generation came around, and I think Xavi represented them and this football more than anything. And for me, he is the most important and best Spanish football player ever. And I don't think he can get any higher praise than they've been saying that about him. I really don't think. I mean, there will be a lot of things said about him, but I think that's what you have to remember: his place in history in Spanish football, not just for Barcelona as well. He changed the style of a club, of a national team, football in an entire country. That's huge. That's his legacy. It doesn't become any bigger than that. That's bigger than a trophy. That's bigger than anything like that. So he changed football in Spain.
That's certainly true. I mean, I think that for anybody who either sort of glossed over or missed, certainly Barcelona's predominant years, but also Xavi coming up. I mean, that's for a lot of people, that's long enough ago that maybe they weren't paying attention, or especially in this side of the pond, David. It's easy to lock in on the goal scorers. Everybody knows Messi, everybody knows Ronaldo, but when it comes to players like Xavi, with his influence from midfield, maybe they missed out on him. You said he's maybe the most important Spanish player ever, but is that reflective of him individually, of Barcelona as a club? I mean, how do you sum him up in terms of his development and how quickly he became so important to both club and country?
Yeah, I think the main thing is Barcelona and Spain, they strive for the same sort of football, this possession-based football that brought so much glory for Barcelona and for Spain. And these trophies didn't come about. They didn't come because of Messi. Messi was the end point, but the beginning point and in the middle of it, that knitted it all together, was always Xavi. Messi has obviously developed the last few years. He offers more to the team now. He drops back in creative midfield and so on. But Xavi has always been central to the football of Barcelona and Spain. You had players around him, but everything went through Xavi. He was the commander on the field. He was the organizer, and he professed the football better than anyone could. He explained it better than anyone could, and you didn't have to maybe do it with words. You just needed to watch him in training. You just needed to watch how he was in the game and how he played the game and how he viewed the game, and that was enough for people. And that is why he is such a legend in terms of the football in Spain, because he helped that get across. Without him, I don't believe these ideas and the generation would have been successful without him. Do you think that the move to El Sad's diminishes him in any way? I mean, I think that's probably unfair, David, but sometimes we do see great players. Maybe they move on to a lower league, or they decide to take a final paycheck. It certainly can look like that, and we don't always judge them appropriately. We judge them a little harshly for making that decision. Do you think that's the case with Xavi? I'm bitterly disappointed, if I'm from a personal opinion, that he has decided to go to Qatar. I don't really see any sense in it. I mean, from a money point of view, okay, there is, and then obviously there will be the line that he wishes to progress football in the country. I understand that. They've got a competition coming up. They're trying to progress the football in that country and get more spotlight on them. So they need a big figure like this. I completely understand, but I think his talents would have been used far better elsewhere. I think MLS, of course, would have been wonderful. It would have been lovely for for the MLS MLS's fan base to see Xavi, and even now he can still offer that, and I think it would have been fantastic, and that was the ideal move. I believed, and it's a shame he hasn't took it.
Well, the story is that he's going to be able to run an academy while he plays. I imagine it's going to be a slightly different situation than if he had come over here, David. I mean, regardless of where the football compares MLS to Europe and La Liga and the Champions League, certainly it's going to be of a more intensely physical type of effort than maybe at Al Sadd. And maybe that's for a guy who's 35 and probably sees a future in football in some other capacity. Maybe that's why he made that decision.
Yeah, I think at the end of it, there's going to be a coaching or a managing job potentially at the Qatar national team, and other little things like that were involved in the whole deal. So yes, there's definitely an end goal there, I think, from this deal.
Regardless, certainly can't say anything bad about Xavi Hernandez on the field. An amazing player. David Cartledge, an amazing guest here on Soccer Morning. David, appreciate your time as always. David JACA on Twitter. Make sure you're following him. Thanks for the time again, David.
Thanks very much. Really enjoyed it.
Let's take a break. When we come back, open up the phone lines, talk to you. MLS storylines. Johnny Bornstein scored a goal for Querétaro that's put them in the final. Johnny Bornstein. Be right back. I've got the answer for you. It's called Fubo TV. Fubo TV is a legal and affordable streaming service that delivers live and on-demand HD broadcasts of BN Sports, Goal TV, Benfica TV, and more. That means you can watch Copa America, Barca TV, Real Madrid TV, Serie A, and other great leagues from around the world. With Fubo TV, the broadcast stream to your computer, smartphone, tablet, Roku, or Amazon Fire TV. Plus, Fubo TV works with Chromecast, so you can cast the games to your TV set. Soccer Morning listeners, I want to invite you to sign up today for a free trial to Fubo TV. And if you love what you see, a monthly subscription to Fubo TV is only $6.99 per month. So sign up at fubo.tv/soccermorning right now, fubo.tv/soccermorning, and start enjoying the best soccer from around the world at home and at work.
Welcome back to Soccer Morning on World Soccer Talk with Jason Davis.
There we go, back on Soccer Morning, taking your phone calls. 646-832-3909 here on a Tuesday, the day after Memorial Day Tuesday. How much soccer did you guys take in this weekend? We had Friday night, we had Saturday, the games on Sunday. The playoff final was yesterday. So really, you could have spent the entire weekend, your long holiday weekend, just doing nothing but watching soccer. But if you live in a place where the weather was decent, and it was pretty damn good where I am, and I imagine if you're in San Diego or LA or certainly semi-tropical locales around the country, you had pretty good weather. I don't know. I think it's hard sometimes to sit inside and just soak up all that soccer. I mean, you have to. You're a fan. You make time to watch. You pick your team. You go watch your team. that's what you do when the weekend comes around and you only have so much time to budget. You go, all right, so I got this game to watch and this game to watch and then you decide, okay, well, if it's, it's 85 degrees and sunny, maybe I don't want to sit here all day and watch soccer. Or maybe I can't, maybe I need to get out and enjoy life a little bit. I did that. I watched soccer, but I did that too. I don't know if I should feel guilty about it. I feel like I missed something? I don't know. I don't know where to feel it. And we just, last week I sort of asked people, how should MLS start maximizing a weekend like Memorial Day? Shouldn't MLS be doing something more? Shouldn't it be soccer on Memorial Day itself? But then I looked at it and I thought, well, wait, no, people are outside barbecuing and swimming and playing games and kids are running around being crazy. Maybe you just don't have the audience. Maybe people won't sit still for an hour, for 2 hours to watch a game. Maybe that's the problem. 646-832-3909. Tim on Twitter, being a very testy individual. Are NASL scores not news? Of course they are. NASL scores are news. The New York Cosmos won a game, right? They won 3-0 over San Antonio. Cosmos took down the defending champions 3-0. It's pretty solid result there for New York Cosmos. Carolina beat Fort Lauderdale. I saw that. I saw that score. I didn't watch that game. Minnesota United 3-2 over Jacksonville. That looks like it was a thriller. FC Edmonton dropped 4 on Atlanta and won 4-2. You had quite a little goal fest at NASL this weekend. Quite the explosion of goals. If you want to talk NASL, call me up, 646-832-3909. I'm not going to talk about it if nobody else wants to. Did you guys see that TFC fans were in mourning this weekend? They were in mourning. They weren't protesting. No. They weren't protesting. They were in mourning because they now have to share their stadium with the Toronto Argonauts of the CFL. Black Saturday. Rip BMO. Keep your promise. Get off our land, something. I don't know. Lots of black shirts and signs. TFC fans not happy about having what was supposed to be a dedicated soccer stadium, not only for them, but for the national teams as well, the dedicated national stadium of Canada, or at least, you cycle through it, you use it when you need to. Because I think they rotate games up in Canada. Not only that, but so not only for TFC, but for the national team as well. Now it's got that gridiron stuff coming in. And MLSE, the owners of TFC, have said, hey, we're going to work real hard here to make sure that the stadium, the field stays pristine. You don't see any football lines. You're not going to even realize that the Argos play at BMO Field. And I'm a little torn on this because I think that sometimes soccer fans are a little too precious about this stuff, that maybe we need to learn to share. Now, I'm not Canadian. I'm not from Toronto, and I don't have a dog in this particular fight. And it is maybe a little bit more nuanced than it would be here in the States because of some of the elements at play. But I think I would be annoyed but understand. Maybe. I don't know. Where would you come down this? I mean, we've got so many stadiums in this country, so many new soccer stadiums that are being shared with football teams anyway. Like maybe Houston fans can commiserate with TFC fans. It's not quite the same thing in the state, and the seasons are different. That's part of the problem. Robert in LA, what's on your mind today?
Hey, good morning, friends.
Good morning, buddy. What's going on?
Hey, I was talking about last week of the EPL and how it was across 10 different channels. And I don't know if you saw the Deadspin article of all the people complaining that their rerun shows were being taken over.
Robert, I saw something very similar at Soccer Gods. So whatever, same thing.
Oh, okay. It's just I was watching one of the games on before, and I don't know if you got the tweet I sent you, but it was like them trying to explain the last week. Did you, by any chance, get that?
I did. I looked at it. Well, this was on MSNBC.
Yeah, it was. I was watching the Manchester City game just to see them. I was just watching it to that curiosity. They were explaining it. And remember when I called last week and they were, I was trying to explain how the local media was going after LAFC.
Yeah.
This one was more hilarious.
Yeah. This makes no sense. For anybody, I'll retweet this. This is from Robert in LA. He's got a screenshot of something that was on TV. He said in LA. I mean, whatever. It's. I don't even know if I could properly do this justice. It says European football parentheses we think ... Then it says preseason exhibition matches FA Cup. Then it says top leagues, Premier League, and has the Union Jack instead of the English flag. The cross. What is that? What is the English flag? What saint do they? George, St. George's Cross. La Liga, Serie A, League One, Liga, and Bundesliga. Okay, somewhat okay there. Lower leagues, League Championship, Segunda, Serie. So they're trying to connect the lower leagues for each one of these top leagues. Then it says other leagues, and it just says champions. Then it says cups, FA Cup, Euro Cup, World Cup. Oh, Robert, that's just hilarious.
Yeah, but it was. They were explaining that if you win your league, you'll go into the World Cup and the European Cup, and it was. I'm being serious.
Look, this is the one thing that is most frustrating to me as a soccer fan. And I think if you met somebody who had never heard of the NFL or never heard of Major League Baseball, you might have some trouble sort of explaining how the structure works. Maybe especially baseball, because you got two leagues, but they're not really connected, but they play interleague sometimes now and blah 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 blah. But soccer is so vast and so complicated that sometimes I just give up. I'm like, there's club, there's country, there's this. I sometimes you got to live it to understand it, Robert.
Yeah, I understand, but I hope that they do more of it. I mean, they put more games on like the USA and the Bravo just to make more people angry. And I just think the whole thing on Twitter of them complaining is so hilarious.
Yeah, that's stuff.
And that's what I was just calling on.
Yeah.
And that's all. Thanks for taking my call, Jason.
Appreciate it, Robert. Good stuff, man. Look, the people complaining when they wake up and their rerun of 48 Hours isn't on or whatever they show. I don't, whatever. Those people can go, they can go away. Vince in Toronto, what's up?
Hey, Jason, how's it going?
It's going well, man. What's up with you?
I wanted to talk some Wando with you guys. He's always been probably, since I started watching Major League Soccer, one of my favorite players, because he's always he's really good at what he does, and he's always come off as such a likable guy. He seems like the most down to earth MLS superstar there is, I suppose.
Completely humble.
But
completely humble. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, my perception of him will always be skewed because I am Canadian, so And this is part of it too. Do you believe Wando will get the respect he deserves from fans, or will what happened to him at the World Cup always be there? Because as soon as MLS put out Wando, congrats on reaching 100 goals, every single comment was, "Oh, he's terrible. This guy cost us a World Cup," and things of that nature. Right? Really disrespectful stuff. Even with when his dad put out the blog posts, right? Just people no respect for a guy who's made a century of goals in MLS, something not many players do.
Yeah.
And it's tiring too. You think that it's pervasive in the American soccer community? Is Wando always going to have that reputation of the guy who cost us a victory against Belgium?
I hope not. I hope that time sort of heals that wound and that people can come to appreciate him again. If you can remove the emotion from it, and you can forgive or forget that miss against Belgium. And look, it's a bad miss, but it doesn't define him as a player for his entire career. If you could take that out and just look at the how fast he came on and how consistent he's been, since he became a top-level goal scorer in MLS, and we're talking, again, 2010. So we're into the 6th season. And he scored, 93 goals in those 6 seasons so far. It's stunning. I think you're right. I think that it's the miss, but I also think it's the humble nature. I think the fact that he plays for San Jose, which is out of the spotlight so much. I think that there are a lot of factors as to why he's not appreciated, Vince, and maybe time will fix that. Maybe 10 years down the road, people will finally begin to say, wow, how amazing was Chris Wondolowski?
Yeah, I want to say it was, Doug McIntyre, someone put out, Wando will most likely get called up to the Gold Cup. And immediately you had people just, oh, no, he's terrible. He's a horrible player for the U.S., conveniently forgetting in 2013 he was a Golden Boot winner, I believe, with Donovan. And I want to say Gabby Torres or what have you. And, whenever people bring up, that miss, I just tell them, why aren't you criticizing Dempsey for being given a ball on a platter by Wando when the U.S. did that really cool free kick and being unable to lift it over Courtois? Or, I didn't see this one, but another person pointed out, Jermaine Jones missing an easy chance.
Yeah.
Or, Beasler getting caught napping by De Bruyne, and then he slips, and then, that causes the first Belgian goal.
Oh, yeah. There's lots of goats.
And it's easy to forget those, right?
There's
because,
goats.
all the highlights showed Wando right there, missing that shot. But, it's unfortunate because I really like the guy, and he's it works against him that he hasn't won titles or things of that nature. I mean, I do believe he has a supporter shield with San Jose. But, people compare him to Donovan and Donovan's record, and, obviously Donovan's a dynasty with the LA Galaxy.
Yeah.
And what you mentioned about San Jose, Jason, that's a testament to himself playing with the team and in a system too, sometimes under Watson last season, where goals were at a premium, and he essentially shouldered the entire offense of a team that was struggling to put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a way. Again, I mean, you can you can identify that Chris Wondolowski is not a transcendent talent in the same way that Landon Donovan sometimes was. Not always. Landon Donovan went through some serious problems with consistency during both his club and international careers. But you can certainly say that among the great MLS goal scorers, he deserves to be there because you shouldn't look at that and ding him and say he's a terrible player because he had one miss. I mean, again, whether or not he's good enough for the international game, okay, maybe not, but that doesn't take away from the fact that in a league where only 9 people have ever scored 100 goals, he scored 100 goals. I mean, that's still impressive. And I know that in this sport, too often we judge players by where they go after MLS instead of where they are, what they do in MLS. And that's part of it too, Vince.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I look at the MLS legends who we like to talk about, right? Most of them weren't anything special at international level. I mean, the only 2 main guys I can think of who were stars in MLS and contributed at a high level for their national team in goal scoring was Dwayne De Rosario and Landon Donovan. I mean, I don't really consider Dempsey on that because Dempsey played a lot in Europe. And you look at Jaime Moreno, the guy was pretty barren when he played for Bolivia. I think he has like 9 goals in 76 appearances, which isn't that good.
Well, I'm not sure Bolivia. I'm not sure Bolivia was.
That's the level of MLS, right, Jason? I mean, people talk about succeeding at the CONCACAF level, and I agree that Wando's that's his echelon in terms, but that's all the U.S. needs him to be. I mean, for the Gold Cup, he should be able to contribute, in a meaningful fashion. I mean, they're not expecting him to put in, a hat trick against Germany. No, that's not what Wando's there for.
I was going to say that I'm pretty sure DC United was better than Bolivia back when Jaime was playing for them. So, I'm sure that's part of it too. You got to have the teammates to help you. Very quickly, Vince, before I let you go, how is your MLS historical knowledge? How would you rate it?
It's all right. I mean, I know all the big players. I know that Hugo Sanchez played in MLS.
Okay. Okay. If I asked you to name all 9 100 goal scorers in MLS history, could you do it?
Probably not.
Okay. How many do you think you can get?
Okay. Donovan, Wando. I do believe Giro made it.
Yep. That's 3 out of 9.
Jeff Cunningham.
Jeff Cunningham is 4. Very good. Who else?
He's another guy who was really good at MLS, but wasn't anything special. Although I don't know why he never played for Jamaica. So whatever.
Played for the U.S.
Taylor Twellman.
Taylor Twellman is 5.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to get my forwards in order.
You just mentioned one.
Jaime Moreno.
Jaime Moreno. That's 6. So you're 3 short. And
I'm currently walking around. I'm not cheating. So that's basically it. No, I don't think. No, McBride and Ronaldo. They never.
No.
They didn't get to that level.
The 3 that you're missing are the 3 I think most people would miss. You want some hints? I'll give you a couple hints. Okay, one of them still playing in this league, back with his second stint with the defending champions. Went to Germany for just a brief period of time and played in the 2nd division there.
Oh, Edson Buttle.
Edson Buttle, that's good. That's 7. You got 2 more. All right, here's a hint. One's a manager in the league right now.
Trying to think of forwards. Ben Olsen wasn't a forward, was he?
No, but definitely Eastern Conference.
So not Ben Olsen. Jay Heaps?
No. Think. All right. Well, okay. Let me see if I can find another MLS hint here. Okay. He just coached against his former team this weekend.
Oh, Jason Kreis?
Jason Kreis scored 108 goals in MLS.
That's pretty good.
The last one, 114 goals in his MLS career, is a gentleman who made most of his name with the Fire, but went on to play some other places as well. No, nothing.
Oh, that is.
This one's going to be.
I don't know why my mind immediately went to Stoichkov, but he came to MLS as like a 38-year-old.
How about this? This guy shares a first name with a former Canadian international defender who I believe is still active, but maybe not an international anymore. No, he's retired. The guy I'm talking. Okay, the Canadian international is retired. He's a former defender. He played for Chivas USA most recently, but so did this forward actually, and they have the same first name.
Oh, okay. He has a badass name.
You're so close. I might have to let you go, but you're so close.
Ante Razov.
There you go. You did it. All 9 of them. Very good.
Yes. I remember because he has like the coolest name in U.S. soccer. One of the coolest names.
Yeah, that's a pretty good name. He was really. I think people talk about underrated forwards, and I know we're talking about Wondolowski today. When you talk about underrated historical MLS forwards, Ante Razov. He's on that list. Absolutely on that list. You got anything else before I let you go?
I think MLS romanticizes midfielders more in the early days. You know, Echeverri, Valderrama, Cienfuegos, right? I mean, we we don't forget about the forwards, but we like to talk about the midfielders more in, MLS 1.0 days.
It's a good point. Well, that's, that MLS, that DC United team was midfield heavy. So was that Galaxy team that you mentioned with Cienfuegos. Obviously, you can't, Valderrama's Valderrama, and he's not only pulling all the strings for Miami, but his hair is off the charts. So there's that as well. So I can see that. Vince, appreciate the phone call. Thanks for playing the game, man.
Yeah, no problem, Jason. Take care.
There goes Vince in Toronto. I didn't ask Vince about the BMO thing. Maybe I should. Rico in Atlanta says that TFC fans are being babies about this. So stop crying and whining. Look. I don't know that it's necessarily, and I know that this is a small subgroup of fans. So if you want to put this on all TFC fans, I think you're wrong to do so. I'm not sure everybody feels this way. But I think what their issue isn't necessarily that we have to share. It's that more than likely the sharing is going to cause problems for our team. Now, if you're talking about just, sharing and everything's equal and neither of them impact each other, then I think that's fine. But when you talk about maybe the turf gets torn up and, we might have to go back to artificial surfaces. Now, we had Dwayne Rollins on the Soccer Morning last week, and he did say that they're going to go to some sort of hybrid thing and it should hold up, or they say it'll hold up, and they're going to figure out a way to get rid of the lines between matches so that the football lines don't encroach on the soccer games. But there's a lot of promises that have to be kept for TFC to have their home and for the fans to feel like their sport and their game and their team are the more important of the two tenants, because that stadium was built for TFC. That stadium was expanded because MLSE sees some sort of future there. And to have an encroacher, and again, I think that we have this weird rivalry between the gridiron version of football, whether it's Canadian or American or college or whatever, and soccer that I don't understand because I like both of them a lot, but that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Robert on Twitter, how can Wando be underrated when he is a DP? I don't think that's necessarily the measure. You could still be underrated and make DP money. And go look at Wando's salary. It's not like he's making real big money. I mean, he's on DP level because he earned that, but it's not like, you know, we're not talking about one of the top 10 guys in the league. He's making, as of 2012, he was making $300K. I don't know what his contract is now, but it's probably not much more than that. Do you think that a guy that has that sort of scoring record outside of MLS and signs up to come here is going to get $300K? No. He's going to get way more than that. Or, you know, at least significantly more than that. All right, maybe he's making more than that now. Maybe he's making $650 now. That's of 2014. Okay, so I want to get this right here. He is making a good amount of money. And again, he earned it. But I don't know that money necessarily dictates how you're rated by the fans. And I think what Vince is saying is that historically speaking, Wando is going to be underrated when compared to maybe some of these other names. And I think nostalgia plays a role in this too. I mean, we're certainly going to rate some of the original MLS guys, those of us who remember, and even some of the younger people who want to respect that era of MLS. Maybe higher than there's a recency effect. Except we try to correct for it. So it goes like this. A guy who scored 20 goals last year, is he as good as a guy who scored 20 goals in 2001, in 2000, in 1998? Probably. He might even be better. But we sort of self-correct for that because we won't want to rate the players that we've seen most recently over guys that we maybe didn't see. This happens in baseball all the time. There's a very good chance that right now playing Major League Baseball are the best baseball players ever. Like ever. Not just in the last decade, not in the last 50 years, but ever. And that people are very careful to respect the history, which I'm fine with. It doesn't hurt anybody to do that. But I think it does impact Chris Wondolowski. And as I said, the man plays in San Jose, which is not a big market, doesn't get a lot of attention. He's just such an unassuming guy that I think that plays against him as well. Let's go to Tyler in Virginia. What's up, Tyler?
Not too much, man. I just wanted to see if you got a chance to watch the DC New England game this weekend.
I did not get a chance to watch that. Why don't you break it down for me? Obviously, a 1-1 draw, which I think for DC is fine, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely fine for DC, but it was a strange game, obviously, because you had the 2 red cards for the Revs.
Right.
But I think what's also funny for me is you know, the takeaways from this game, and even though you know, DC is, I guess, my local team, if you will, I kind of came away feeling like New England proved that they were the team to beat in the Eastern Conference, which is what we all said, you know, they would be going into the season. But, I mean, this was kind of, you know, billed as the matchup between, you know, 2 of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. And before the red cards, I mean, New England was just all over DC. DC
Right.
couldn't do anything. And it's funny because, you know, over the years, I've kind of seen DC struggle when they get pressured. KC used to do it to DC. Like, I remember when they won, you know, MLS Cup, DC had a lot of problems with KC's pressure. Same thing with the match on Saturday. DC couldn't get a thing going. You know, they were kind of not looking too good. And then the 2 red cards happened, and so obviously DC now has the ability to play at their tempo. And, you know, find a little bit more space out there with 2 men being gone. But like I said, the biggest takeaway for me was that New England, they looked like the team to beat, man. They looked really good when they had all 11 men out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm looking at some of the stats right now, Tyler, and it is interesting. I mean, you're painting a picture. You watched the game. I certainly trust your judgment here, but you're painting a picture of the New England dominating things or controlling things for a while until the red cards. You look at the possession breakdown. DC United ends up with 64% possession, and that's entirely because they're up. You know, they have a man advantage and then a 2-man advantage, and that skews things. So it's difficult to take the proper picture from this if you're just looking at the paper and not looking at the way the game actually played out. What was the thing that impressed you most about New England? I mean, like they obviously have tons of talent, and I think it's fascinating the way that they've turned Teal Bunbury into a great winger. They've obviously got Juan Agudelo in this team now. You got Charlie Davies leading the line. What was it that
they were? I mean,
go ahead.
I mean, on offense going forward, they look like a well-oiled machine out there, man. Honestly, before the red cards, the game could have been 3-0 New England. They had several missed chances. Like, they were just, sending balls into the box, both in the air and on the ground. And I mean, just inches away from scoring a few goals before the red card. And I mean, that just really impressed me because DC is an excellent defensive team. And New England was just able to kind of get chances at will out there.
Yeah, you obviously, again, Chris Tierney and Lee Wing going out of that game changed things pretty dramatically. And yet DC United was only able to get the one goal in the 80th minute from Jairo Arrieta to get 1 point. You take the draw because it's on the road in New England, Tyler, but at the same time, for DC United, you're pissed off. You didn't win a game where you had 2 guys sent off in what was that, 10-minute span or whatever that is. 6 minutes.
Yeah, and I think for DC, I mean, it has to be said that, they're missing Espindola and Luis Silva, and DC, for my money, they never look good. They don't look like the same team without those 2 out there. But at the same time, when you're up 11 against 9, you still always want to get the 3 points.
Yeah. Appreciate the phone call, Tyler.
Hey, man, have a good one.
All right, you too. There goes Tyler. That's going to do it for a soccer morning on a Tuesday. Hope your weekend was good, your holiday weekend. Hope you're back into the swing of things. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Soccer Morning on WorldSoccerTalk.com. Thank you very much to David Cartledge for his time and insight today. It was good. It was absolutely fantastic. I'm just looking at scores. Oh, Germany's released their roster. This is the roster that will take on the United States in a friendly on June 10th, and then they've got a qualifier against Gibraltar, so that's going to be pretty easy. I'm looking through here. Jerome Boateng's on this team. Mats Hummels. Let's see. Rudiger. Sami Khedira. Mesut Ozil. Podolski. Schürrle. Schweinsteiger. Gundogan. Götze. Max Cruz from Borussia Mönchengladbach. So not the strongest Germany that Germany can put together, but pretty damn strong because, hey, it's Germany. Go to backheel.com/store and buy yourself a Soccer Morning mug. It's pretty and it holds coffee. It's great. And then we have the Soccer Morning t-shirts, which you can get at 30fc.com. Thanks again to David Cartledge. Thank you to producer Trevor. Thank you to the callers. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Late.